What's up, trendsetters? Welcome to a very special episode of In the Spotlight. Today, we are finally doing our episode about the royal family, about the Meghan and Prince Harry interview with Oprah. And we are going to talk about everything that happened with that interview, all the stuff that came out after it. And then, of course, the reason we are actually doing this now is because Prince Philip has recently died. And so we thought that this would be a appropriate time to kind of talk about the royal family and kind of go over that. Let me introduce my guests today. First off, I am one half your host, Mark Goldstein. Of course, as always, we have in this video realm, actually down below is my co-host, Adrienne Talty.
Hey.
And then a very special guest. This person I have known for, we just talked about this, 7 years now. We have met over a Minecraft server, actually.
Yes.
We just kind of hit it off. And this is my very good friend, Seth. Thank you so much for joining.
It's all right. You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Cool. So in today's episode for everybody, our unpaid intern Ted, he ran out to a place near us called Summer Moon, and in solidarity of the royal family, we are drinking a drink called the London Fog, and it's actually very good.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I'm gonna quickly just go into this. Seth, what is your just in general, what is your thoughts on just the royal family in general?
To be honest, it's mixed. Like, obviously, being English, or you just sort of, there's some sort of respect there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just a bit like you get bored of it.
And I should mention, you are actually younger than both me and Adrienne. You are, I don't know, I won't say your age if you don't want me to, but you are of a younger generation. You are kind of closer to us, so you are not that that older generation in England that as maybe Americans may feel are very attached to that British or the royal family. Correct?
Yeah, I grew up watching the whole Princess Diana generation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was.
Why don't we say this? So where in Britain do you live?
So I live in the northwest. I'm literally on the border to Scotland, so I am
how cool.
furthest away you could be from the royal family. My sister lives in London.
Okay.
But she feels the same way that everyone else is, because she is a northerner. So
gotcha. That's so funny, because the northern here is like Michigan.
Yeah.
So okay, so I kind of want to just jump into this into the interview. And did you happen to actually, what do you know about the that Meghan and Prince Harry interview with Oprah? Actually, let me ask you this: do you even care about this interview that happened in America? And do you even care about what Oprah has to say?
Honestly, not massively.
Sure.
It's from the side from like our media. It didn't show really any of it. I'm sure it's probably broadcast in England, but I never saw it.
Right. Okay.
We just sort of like it picked out the bad bits and then showed us that.
Okay.
Pretty much from what I had seen on the news and stuff and bloody in the newspapers.
That actually is a perfect segue, because a lot of what Meghan and Prince Harry were saying was that this is sort of the media and the institution that kind of portrays them in a bad light. Do you also feel like that?
Yeah, I feel like it, especially just with that whole situation. The only thing that I really got from the media was the darker side of it. It didn't. That's all that I really took from that situation, and that entire interview was just the bad things that were said. So everything Meghan said about that, and Harry, I agree with what they said about the media just showing the worst side of it.
Which, can you explain to us what exactly the institution is?
Honestly, I'm not too sure on that one. With that one, I've genuinely no idea.
Yeah, it seems like a very generalized word for more the business side of the royal
Yeah.
family, but it's kind of confusing.
I think I guess it's sort of more the branding of the royal family,
Okay.
if that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
what I'd take from it, really, is obviously they're a big thing in England, and if you go to like London and stuff, there's all sorts of just, well, I wouldn't say merchandise, but royal family branding everywhere.
Yeah. Like
Um,
advertising
yeah,
almost.
yeah, yeah.
Is it
Oh,
is it
oh,
sort of sickening to see all that, or is it kind of
um, I wouldn't say sickening. It's just like you just get a bit fed up with it, really. It's just sort of like, oh, great, more of this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
how
I'm sure
people
some
feel when,
people. Sorry, go on.
oh, I was just gonna say that's how people feel when they come to Texas and they see Texas everything everywhere, proud and loud.
Yeah, like I'm sure for a lot of people, it's like quite nice to see. Obviously, from I'd say like an outsider coming into England, or even someone who's never been to London and has got quite a passionate feeling towards royal family.
Yeah.
It's probably quite cool to see. But for just like someone like me or other people that aren't massively head over heels for the whole situation, it's just a bit like, oh, look, there's more of that. Yeah, but it sort of comes as a second nature. Like you sort of don't notice it as much after a while, I guess.
Yeah, that makes
It's
sense.
yeah, especially since you've grown up in that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gone on for a while. Let me ask you, how do you feel about an American coming into the royal family like this?
Genuinely, I didn't even bat an eyelid at it. Like the entire thing, I was just like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Like
do you think that's a younger generation mentality?
I think so, yeah. I think obviously a lot of the older generation will be like, well, you can't have this, she's not like born and bred English. So
Right.
they probably kicked up a bit of a fuss about it. And I think that's where a lot of the media kicking off comes from. But obviously, I think for a lot of the younger generation, like myself, and definitely my sister that I've spoke about it with, have said it's just it didn't even register it being an issue. It's just sort of like, all right, cool. Like it's
I know in the interview, Meghan did mention about Kate and how they seem to favorite her, maybe because she grew up in, the royal family in general.
yeah,
Do you think that's true, like from an actual British perspective?
I think so. Yeah, there's a Kate was definitely in more of like the spotlight, but in more like yeah, I'm trying to think of the right word here, but like in a spotlight in more of like a glorification type of way, not in a
Okay,
slanderous
yeah.
type of way. Um, I think the only time Meghan was really in the spotlight that wasn't in a bad way was probably the royal wedding in 2018.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
but apart from that, I've only really seen her in a bad light because this is to do with Prince Philip's funeral. Obviously, Harry came over for the funeral, but Meghan didn't because
Yeah.
she's heavily pregnant during a pandemic.
Right.
And I think it must have been the Sun or the Daily Mail, one of the awful newspapers that just like to stir the pot, was just like, oh, she's not coming over out of disrespect and blah blah blah, when
Mhm.
that really wasn't the case. But yeah, it's just like I've only ever seen Meghan in a poor spotlight instead of like
Yeah, it's never
one that's
been like
putting
a
her on.
positive manner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So there kind of is that fight between, if you like Meghan, you hate Kate, or if you hate if you hate Meghan, you like Kate. Do you feel like that is true in England?
I feel like in older generations, yes. So obviously I can't massively speak on that one because
Yeah.
again, for people like me, it's just sort of like it's the royal family. They're all
Yeah.
just they're just
What does your mom think of all this? I mean, she's in the older generation of all this.
she's just sick of hearing about them at this point.
She's
Like
like, I'm over it.
yeah, like the entire thing when all of this kicked off originally, and then she just literally didn't care. She didn't even give it the time of day, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think
I think something that that sparked us during the interview, and I know like they didn't really broadcast the whole thing over there, but I'll try and paint the picture as best I can. So in the beginning over here, Meghan is a celebrity. She's an actress. I really liked her in Suits personally. However, she's used to an American celebrity lifestyle. She made it abundantly clear that she had no training, no background. She thought she shouldn't have had to Google the national anthem to learn it, things like that. She didn't know how to curtsy, or figured that she wouldn't have to curtsy in front of the queen all the time. Do you think that is believable?
Yeah, no, I think I believe that, because not even I know all this stuff. Like it,
well,
whole,
okay. Well, let's put it that into perspective. When we were watching, because Adrienne had watched this before, and the interview last night, I was watching it for the first time, so she kind of had her refresher course on this. She said, Meghan said that she had not Googled Prince Harry before or after she met him. She said that she wanted, or she thought that whatever he needed to tell her, he would have been truthful or anything. I I just don't believe that. I just don't believe that she would not Google this person. We were making jokes. We were like, there are people on Tinder who Google their potential meetup just in case they're a murderer or something like that. This person is a huge. Bigger than a celebrity. I mean, he's a royal. You wouldn't Google him. You wouldn't try to figure something out. It comes off, this whole interview, I mean, not the whole interview, but like the first half of this interview definitely comes off as, I don't know what to believe from Meghan, because half the stuff she says, you just feel like she's lying anyways.
Yeah. I guess the thing about Googling him would be that it might be different because she's a celebrity.
Sure. I mean, but
Yes.
like you could potentially just kind of Wikipedia him. I mean, there is some sort of fact checking in there. Like, you wouldn't want to know just kind of what you're getting into. And that's part of what I feel like was the problem with this interview, is that she came off as, at least to me, she came off as very, this is a pity party in a sense. When Prince Harry came on in the second half of the interview, it felt like he was explaining more of what was going on and why they were going through this. She really didn't do that. She was just like, oh, this is just happening to me. And as much as she did say, I went to HR and they couldn't help me and like all this other stuff, it just felt very almost ingenuine, right? It just didn't feel real.
Which, just because you said HR, like, to believe that the royal family has a human resources department kind of blows my mind. It's a bloodline.
It surprises me, but at the same time, if I'm thinking back to what I said about like the whole branding thing, it makes some sense, not loads, but it is like, a family having a HR is a bit odd. Like it's not something,
right?
Like, I'm just trying to think if there's any other like major family things.
It almost, I mean, if you were sort of a conspiracy theorist, you would kind of be like, the royal family is just a puppet for this institution that is making these things. I'm like, yeah, like who you have a royal family, and then who came in and said, I want this institution to market me everywhere. I mean, you're a king, you're a queen. Shouldn't you have sort of that power? I mean, it's a very odd feeling, especially maybe for Americans.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, really. Like, I think from their point of view, like the actual royals, they obviously still see it as a family, like a bloodline type of situation. So, and I think a lot of people do still see it as that. So it's just, I don't know, it's trying to think of what I'm trying to say. It's sort of like finding the line really of where people see where it crosses from a family to,
A
well, marketing,
business.
yeah, business, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I still feel it is a family, and I just feel like some people take advantage of the fact and try and use it as a business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, obviously, like I said, a lot of people will feel it is more of a business now than it was, say, 20 years ago. But
so let me speaking of like of the institution, all this stuff. So there was a part in the interview when Meghan was talking about how she hadn't left the house for about 4 months, or she'd only been outside in the past 4 months, like twice or something like that.
Yeah.
And the institution was saying, oh, you're too everywhere. You can't be you can't go out, you can't be doing all this. Do you feel like the institution is hurting the royal family more than it is helping them?
Under that sort of line there, not really, because you never see the royals anywhere really. They are always very much sheltered, is what I'll say.
Sure.
Okay.
Like, obviously, like, very rarely do you see the Queen go anywhere. I think Prince Charles has been obviously into like around my area 3 times in my entire life, and that's all I've known. But that's only when there's been like some disaster. It's not a disaster, probably that's a big word to use, but like something's gone wrong. Like there's a good
they're doing public relations crisis.
Yeah. So maybe like 10 years ago, the city near where I live flooded, and he went there after that just to sort of like a morale booster type of situation. But really, the royals never really do public appearances. That's not a thing they do, or very often, and it's not common for them to do that.
So something else with the institution is she talks about her mental health and how she went to the institution, asked for help. They turned her down. There's also parallels in that with Princess Diana. I feel like overall, like in Britain, you guys are pretty progressive with mental health. So do you feel like that's a reflection of Britain overall, or just a reflection of maybe the actual royal family and institution?
I feel like it's probably more of a reflection on the institution, I'd say, because I feel like I said, Britain is very progressive with mental health and all sorts of stuff like that. Like, especially like obviously the NHS, it's very strong in that sense, I think, or at least I feel, because but both my parents work in that side of the NHS.
Okay.
So I guess that might just be me being biased, just because obviously my entire family has been working in that side of it. So, but I feel like it's more on the institution than Britain itself. I feel like we've got quite a strong support for mental health.
That's good. At least our perspective is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we are going to take a super quick break. We're going to give ourselves just a minute to recalibrate all of our stuff. We'll be right back with more of the interview. All right, guys, welcome back. So we are going to continue here with our interview with Seth about the royals. Adrienne, you had something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to jump right into it and kind of maybe transition a little bit more of Prince Harry. Do you think that if you were Prince Harry, not necessarily if he did the right thing, would you have also, decided, especially with him being like 6th in line, do you think that him making a decision of what he felt was best for his family, fleeing to Canada first, eventually settling in California, do you think you would have done the same thing?
I think so, yeah. I feel like he made the right decision, because obviously Meghan is from a completely different background to him.
Yeah.
And I feel like that royal life for someone that hasn't been born into it or knows much about it is probably really stressful to like just be dropped into.
So let me ask you this: do you feel like this may be like sort of a tabloidy question, but do you feel like what happened was because an American came in and she is we saw that she was 39 years old. She's still relatively a young person. Do you feel like this is just a young American's mentality of I'm being trapped by all this? I mean, to be fair, a lot of what was going on, and what a lot of people are saying is that this is the same thing Princess Diana went through. But
so many parallels.
I see. I don't think it is the American mentality. I think it's like I said, I think it's just because that lifestyle is these days so unheard of.
Yeah.
I think anyone would struggle with it, really.
I think I would agree with you, but mostly like this is also coming from a woman's perspective, like just she has been married before, right? So like also just being married as a woman, you're giving up. I mean, a lot of things are progressive. You don't have to do this per se, but like in a way, like traditionally, you're giving up your name, you're giving up all this stuff. On top of it, she's turning her keys, her passport, everything over. I mean, that's a lot of shock to go through for anyone. So I do agree with you. Like, it's almost an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
I think just, yeah, you're right. With like obviously getting married is a big thing. And like, I don't know if there's different rules for marriage there to here. I feel like there isn't, but it's just, yeah, that whole process of getting married, the name change, and then also, well, pretty much an entirely new lifestyle than what you're used to would probably break anyone, really.
yeah, it's a lot to adjust to. And I think that like, especially for Queen Elizabeth, seeing so many changes, culturally, politically over her time. And then, how the importance of the royal family was, literally the center of everything. And like you said, now it's more annoying in a weird way. But, like you had made a comment on our break about the common, what is it called? The House
of Commons.
The House of Commons. Yeah, like that to me is more your political side at this point. And so that whole transition, I think, is a comment of what you made earlier, is it's just the importance of everything has dwindled over time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Like, it as it's progressed, and I feel like as obviously the official royal bloodline, excuse me, there is slowly obviously fading out, and it's more just onto the I'm trying to think of the right words, the new bloodline, I guess.
Yeah,
it's just sort of like I don't know, it just all feels a bit old.
So speaking of old, the Queen, she just had her 95th birthday.
It's crazy.
By
the way, I love her corgi because I own a corgi.
Oh, you own a corgi?
I do.
I'll need to see this when we're done.
Yeah, I will.
Is the Queen's birthday, is that a big deal in England or anything like that?
I feel like for some people, yes, it is. I didn't know until I seen it on the news. But I feel, obviously, like I said, for the older generation, I feel like the Queen's birthday is probably, I wouldn't say a very significant day, but it's something they'll probably do something different for. Obviously, the only reason I found out about it was because it was like, it's the Queen's first birthday without Prince Philip around.
Right.
Yeah.
It was obviously it felt significant this year because it was the first one without Prince Philip. So,
right.
But I think obviously it gets covered by the news every year, like it must do. I think I've just learned to drone out. But
does it feel like a holiday? Like,
not really, no. I mean, that could just be because we've been in lockdown for over a year now, or in and out of lockdowns for a year.
It's a very valid point.
Everything might just feel jumbled up. But thinking like back to around this time, 2019, 2018, blah, blah, blah. it never really felt like anything significant was going on. It's just sort of like it was just another day. So
there are kind of talks and rumors about when the unfortunate day that the Queen will pass away, that people are talking about having the royal family status kind of dissolved, and that England will just go to a true democracy with only the government and the parliament. Is that something that is also being talked about in England, or is there anything that holds that water to that truth or anything like that?
I haven't heard much about that, I'll be honest.
Okay. Sure. It could just be an American rumor. Who knows?
We love the royals here.
Yeah. But I've not heard anything about that, really. I mean, it might happen. I'm not sure. I know that there's definitely, when the Queen does die, we do have Prince Charles. He's next in line.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think of that statement? What do you think? Would you care if the monarchy was dissolved, or would you like to see it continue? I mean,
does this go back to the point of I see this every day?
Right.
I don't think they'd get rid of it.
Okay.
Like that. Because I guess sort of the novelty of it. It's just like it's that is England. Like the royal family is
your branding comment.
Yeah, like that is England. Like the royal family is, so I don't think it wouldn't dissolve. It might be less. See, I don't know, because it's hard to tell, because obviously, like I've only been around for this Queen, and I think a lot of people now have only been around.
I think a lot of people have only been around for this Queen, to be fair.
It's going to be more to wait and see what happens when like royalty does eventually shift over, and see what happens. But as of like, I've not heard anything about the whole thing dissolving. But onto the comment about just having the government, it mainly for the longest time, or as long as I can remember, it's mainly just felt like the government, like as far as I'm aware, the monarchy haven't really had any say in the government in a while. I could be very wrong on that, but that's how it feels anyway. It doesn't feel like they've had much impact on choice. I guess the government seems to do like all the talking. Really, that's how it's felt. I mean, obviously, like the Queen could still say, "Oh, I'd like to go to war with France," and that would happen.
Wow! Oh, wow!
At least I'm fairly sure that's something that she has the power to do.
Let's can we tweet at her that? Can we be like, hey, can we test something out? Can you just say we're at war with France right now, just for a little bit? I just want to test something.
No. That's a hard no.
This is what my friend said. And I think this could just be a rumor again. I don't know how much truth there is behind it, but I feel like I've heard it before. But he said that, like, what if on the Queen's deathbed, just before she died, she's like, "Let's go to war." Like, because
she did it out of fun.
Like, yeah, just out of spite, because she's gonna die. Like that. Like, I highly doubt that will happen. And
right.
But we're just thinking like that would be nuts if she did that.
Oh, that'd be pretty.
Is there any excitement in having Prince Charles become king?
I mean,
or not
really.
Face
on the coins and the stamps, but apart from that, not really.
Sure. I mean, or is it like, he's sort of just been the prince for forever, and does it feel like maybe we should just, I mean, I know that this is not how it works, but like, does it feel like maybe we should just give it to Prince William?
A lot of people are saying this because Prince Charles he's old now.
Sure.
I think he's in his 60s or 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that he should just pass it up to William.
Who knows if he will.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be too happy, but I mean,
obviously it's his choice. Like, he doesn't have to, but there's talks that he could or might do that. Honestly, really? No idea. We'll wait and see. But because he's old. Like, there's no this way or that way. He's an old man now. Like,
it's just fact.
It's going to run a country at however old he is probably not run a country, but be the king.
Yeah.
It's probably quite a big thing.
Right.
So I know you said that you've seen the royals come to your area, like, just a few times,
Yeah.
mainly Philip, I think you said.
Yeah.
However, have you ever like purposely felt the need to go seek them out or go to an event?
Not really. There was one time when I was in like primary school. I don't know what you'd call it in America. Obviously, it's a school when you go between like ages 5 and 11.
Okay,
Elementary school. Yeah.
Elementary school,
something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
And there was some opening of something around us, and the Queen came to it. And that's literally the only time I've been to actively see them. But again, that wasn't my choice. I was taken there by school.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people would go out and actively find them and try and talk to them, or even just get a photo, anything, just see them.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like that's the older generation. I mean, it's obviously some people my age will go out and try and find them, but
Sure.
personally,
it's sort of the same. I get the same feeling of a president, the US president coming, or like even just in the not nomination, but when they're running for election, a lot of the younger generation people like Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you know who that is, but
I know Bernie Sanders is,
but he is sort of America's grandpa, along with with Joe Biden. But like, a lot of the young people, they just want to go and see him. One, part of it is the political views that he has that people like, and they want to express their feelings towards it, and they want to support it. But I think part of it would also just be like, if Joe Biden were to come down somewhere, he's already president, and you're just kind of going to see him because he's this big celebrity now, right? I mean, he is the president, but he has that celebrity presence.
Yeah. And it's funny with the experience you shared, Seth, about school, because when we call it high school here, but like it's ages 15 to 18. So the upperclassmen, the juniors and seniors, so you're like, 17, 18 years old, president, well, he wasn't president at the time, but Barack Obama, our principal of our school had a connection with him, and they actually invited him down, and they brought the news and the media and everything, and we got to see him speak, which for us was really good as a younger generation, because we're the future of America. Therefore, he gets to plead his case to us. But overall, I don't think I would also actively seek out, say going to see our president or something. But if I had an invitation of the White House, or like the experience we had with school, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
No, it's probably on the same level here, really. Like, if I got invited to a spot where, say, the royal family were, you'd obviously feel starstruck, because like they are celebrities, like pretty much. But I don't know, like, and obviously if I was still at school and they came and spoke there, I'd be like, this is really cool, he's a prince, or that's the Queen, or blah blah blah. But like, there's no interest to actively seek them out. So
one last thought I had, because I continually forget them, probably because I'm not a morning person and it's morning here. Yeah, this is a big hint. And thank you again for joining us, because it's like late afternoon for you.
Yeah, it's like towards evening now.
Oh, that's crazy. But UK press versus American press. I think you guys are really brutal.
Yeah,
at least like that's what comes off in the American, like what I guess it could be the same thing, is that like we only hear the brutalness coming from England, and you probably only hear like the true brutalness that comes from America, right?
Yeah, I think it's more boils down to the fact that British people are quite blunt.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Like, if
nobody has feelings, or who cares about hurting your feelings? The truth is the truth.
Yeah, so like obviously in the news, if something bad has happened, it's just like, this has happened, deal with it. Like, that's
get over it.
Right. Yeah, it's just like, this has happened, we're not going to sugarcoat it. Before we go to a break, do you have any questions for us? I know we've been asking you tons of questions of how you feel. Like, do you have anything that you want to know on the American side? I did have one, but I've got one. I'll see if I remember the one. The main one is how do you guys see the royal family from like the American side? Do you like see them as celebrities and stuff? As like how?
So you're really gonna get two separate answers because but myself, I as an American don't care about the royal family at all. Like I barely follow anything of them. Me watching this interview is probably the most I've heard about them in years, or like even cared to know about them in years.
Yeah.
But Adrienne, I know, and executive wife producer Louisa, they love that stuff. I mean, you wanna put your
Yeah,
two
I'm
cents in?
like, I wouldn't say like I'm a super fan, but I'm definitely a fan girl. And I'm just obsessed with like the history of it all. And honestly, I'm not a historic person. I do not do history. But I am obsessed with the history and just how it works because it's so different than anything, even just democracy in general, just that side of it is crazy. And there's so much to it. I always find out new things. And I'm not going to lie, I did watch The Crown. Did you watch The Crown? As a
I
Briton?
haven't watched The Crown. No, my mum has
Okay.
watched The Crown,
She
and
has.
she loves it. But I've never seen it.
Okay. Well, I think it's fabulous. Um, but it's just crazy.
I feel like you kind of do get that polar opposites, is that like Americans are very self-focused, and whatever happens on anywhere else that isn't the the States, it's so what. And it's funny because when you're on Reddit a lot, and you go into the subreddit the world news, a lot of it is American news, and all the comments from people who are outside of the US go, oh, I didn't know that this particular thing that's happening in the US is like, it's a very small thing that's happening in the US, has to concern the world, right?
Yeah.
It's
Which I will say, so my husband and I, we went to Australia for our honeymoon, and I know that's part of the Commonwealth, which really has nothing to do with this. That's just a fact. But when we were there, one of our Ubers that we took, they were telling us, oh my God, I'm like embarrassed to say this, but they were like, oh, where are you from? And we said, oh, we're from Dallas, Texas. And they're like, oh, you have big guns there. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, oh my
Wow.
God, that's what you think of us. That's what you know us by. Oh my God, I'm talking to some of the nicest people I've ever met. And that's how they view us Americans. Oh my goodness. It was so crazy. So like the perspectives of like different countries just because of the media is just, woo.
Yeah. See, I feel like unless you've been to America, that is sort of the stereotype people go for, is like big guns,
Yeah.
just stuff like that. So,
and I will say the kind of with the press, something that executive producer wife Louisa and I were like talking about is that, how just with this whole media conversation, by doing the interview, which I know Diana also did a famous interview that did make change happen, was that they're kind of feeding into the machine, as Louisa said. And it's true, like they want to kind of let it die down, but they also feel like they need to justify their perspective. Diana kind of wanted to stay and mend the relationship in the family. Meghan and Harry chose to leave. Some differences, some parallels, but I do feel like no matter what, choosing to do the interview feeds into the media. They're always going to attack it.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's right, really. I think anything that they come out publicly with will feed the media.
Yeah.
Really. I think.
Which, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that could be why they live quite a private life.
Makes sense.
I mean, unsure, but it would fit in.
What do you think of Oprah?
Do you know who Oprah is? Let me ask you that.
I vaguely, very, very vaguely.
Okay, fair enough.
I just know she's got a talk show.
That's fair.
Okay. No. That's actually that's really good to know that maybe this Oprah interview was only truly meant to have views for Americans.
Yeah, literally, like there's plenty of English people who probably watch Oprah and keep up with that stuff, but from my point of view, I think the only other thing I knew about Oprah was the Tom Cruise interview years ago.
Oh yeah.
Like
all right.
years
I'm
ago.
impressed.
That's
I mean,
all I really
that's
know.
a meme. So, and then you probably
It
know
is.
her of you get a car, you get a car, you get
Yes,
a car.
no, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we are going to take another super quick break. We are going to come back and have our last segment here. So stick tuned. Welcome back, everybody. So we are going to wrap up this episode, but let's talk about very recently. Prince Philip has passed away. What has been the snowball effect of that in England, or like what when the news broke? What was the feeling there?
So with this one, I was literally downstairs with my mum, and we have the radio on just in the background in the kitchen, just the obviously background noise.
Yeah.
And everything stopped all of a sudden, just what was happening. And it was literally a national announcement on the radio that he'd passed away. And this is the first one of these I think I'd ever heard. There might have been one for the first COVID lockdown. But no, this is definitely the first one I've heard of. But it was sort of like everything to do with the news that day stopped. It was all Prince Philip, because it obviously, this is the first time a royal has died since I think 1997. So it was really quite a big thing in the UK.
What are your thoughts of him passing away? Is this just some sad news? Is this a national thing for you that like you should have taken the day just to kind of reflect on things? Kind of, what was your?
I sort of more seen it as sad news, really. I know some people that took the day to sort of reflect and obviously celebrate his life. But yeah, I just sort of took it as some sad news, because obviously it's a shock. But at the same time, without sounding too blunt and mean here, you could everyone sort of knew it was going to happen soon, because obviously he'd been into hospital maybe like a month before. I don't know if that reached over to America.
There were talks about him being in and out of the hospital for a little bit, and there was some concern with his health and the Queen's health. Kind of all throughout Corona, you would kind of hear bits and pieces of stuff like that.
Yeah, but yeah, he'd been in and out of hospital like a lot at the start of this year. And literally as soon as it came on the radio, my mum's literally said, "Oh, I bet Prince Philip has died," and that's what it was. Because
yeah.
But yeah, so without sounding too mean, I think a lot of people were expecting it.
Yeah.
Just because of his health, just from this year.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
I was just saying, just so it was still a shock that it happened, but yeah, people just expected it, I think.
Because of the pandemic and everything, and given the situation, was the funeral itself probably pretty private?
See, I think pandemic or not, it would have been the same, because I think it said somewhere that he didn't want a big song and dance for his funeral. And I watched the funeral. I say watched it. I had it on in the background because it was on TV pretty much.
Yeah.
Which I will get into later, because there's some controversy behind that. But it was all very. Yeah, it wasn't a song and dance. It was just, I guess, kind of nice. Really, it was refreshing.
Peaceful.
Yeah, peaceful. Refreshing is probably not the right word to use for a funeral, but peaceful's a better one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the controversy behind it?
I know. I'm like, what?
Let's go to the juicy bits here.
It's less so of the funeral. It's more just of the broadcasting of the whole situation.
Okay.
In the fact that obviously this is going to happen. Like, it's just what happens when royalty dies in England, I think, is that all programming on definitely both the main BBC channels was completely wiped of what it was meant to be, and then it was just Prince Philip. for I think definitely the full day that he died, and I think of other the days afterwards as well. But I know for the full day it was all completely Prince Philip, but a lot of it is reruns, and there was complaints about that they should have shown normal television. But I think it was BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. That's like channel 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then there was an extra little bit of controversy because we have the fourth channel, simply called Channel 4. That didn't really show any. It showed it until 6 p.m. on the day that he died, and it was continued to normal programming. And a lot of people complained about that because it was disrespectful, or so they said. But there was something about on the morning of Prince Diana's funeral, Channel 4 showed cartoons for children because Channel 4 was created to be an alternative to normal television. That's its whole shtick, is that it is the alternative channel.
So you felt like did you feel like they did the right thing of sticking to their guns?
Yeah,
as an American expression.
Yeah,
to just show the cartoons.
Yeah, I think that was the right decision to do.
That's a good point.
That's what they are. They are the alternative channel. But I also agree with how some people reacted to normal television programming being completely just overrun by this. Obviously, it's a big event in England, like the Prince has died.
Right, sure.
But which is funny here, because in America they just be like, we interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you da, 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 da.
Yeah. And well, they would, I mean, yeah, it kind of it sort of does feel a little weird here, because like if something big and major tragic like that happened, like when the January 6th insurrection of the Capitol here, that was on the news channels over and over for on that day. It was for a long time, and for the next, it was for like a week. That was like really all they were showing. But like, you wouldn't expect our channel 4 here for Cartoon Network to just show that all the time, but like on our more national broadcasted channels, you would feel like part of the people would be like, oh, you should watch this is very important, what's happening. But then also people are like, put on the Masked Singer, like, how dare you take away my normal programming. Is that how that is over there? Do you kind of feel like that's kind of the same way? Is that people?
I think so, because obviously it completely took over television, really.
Sure.
So I think having the alternative for just something else to watch, like obviously it's not as bad now because we've got stuff like Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that. You can just bosh that on. But obviously some people don't have that. So
going back to the Meghan and Prince Harry thing real quick, when Prince Harry died, and you did mention this earlier, is that she couldn't come to the funeral because she was she's about to have a baby here pretty soon. She can't fly. It's also in a pandemic. Outside of the kind of tabloidy news, was the news actually covering that she was not there? It was trying to stir the pot, basically?
It was maybe like 2 newspapers which are famous for stirring the pot. I think maybe briefly mentioned it, but stuff on like BBC News, it was just like, oh, Harry's coming home. It wasn't anything about Meghan. It was just like, oh, Harry's coming back.
I think the funeral was perceived here kind of like, I think it was important, it was sad, but it was also like, because of the recent events with Harry and Meghan, everyone was so caught up in figuring out who's going to say what to who, and is he going to mend his relationship with his brother, his dad. They're focused on the gossip instead of the actual historic event taking place.
I'm
sorry, go on.
No, I was just sort of agreeing.
Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
You only have 4 channels?
No. We have many more.
Okay.
They're not in the 1950s.
No. I'm like, wait, what? I need to explain this.
No, it's just they're like the
news
ones that you think of, really, when you think of like, oh, let's stick on some just bog standard telly. You think
Okay.
of BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, Channel 4.
It is kind of funny because
Got it.
whenever I'm on YouTube and I'm watching British shows or like clips of it's only ever BBC One, BBC Two, and BBC Three. Like that's all I ever know of British television is those
I'm like,
BBC channels.
what?
You know, we have loads of channels, but like just at least when I think of just like normal TV, I think of them 4 channels because they're just the ones they're the ones that everyone gets.
That's
Can I just ask you, this is a random question, are there any American shows that you really enjoy? That's a no. Okay, cool.
No. I'm trying to think because I sort of, it all sort of gets mashed into one. I have watched The Masked Singer. I did watch. I can't remember whichever season Whoopi Goldberg was on. I watched that one.
Oh yeah.
That's what we've like a lot of American stuff we get late. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'd have to like have a proper look at the channels and be like, I like that. But there is definitely like TV sort of doesn't feel like it's, at least American TV for us doesn't feel like it is American, I guess.
I mean, you are a part of our generation. I mean, you are on Netflix. You're probably on Hulu. Are you on? I mean, you're probably watching Disney Plus as well, right?
Yeah, I don't think we get Hulu in the UK because it's interesting actually. So Disney Plus.
I'll send you a VPN link.
Fantastic. Hey, NordVPN, you can sponsor the podcast. I was going to say, so Disney Plus and Hulu, obviously Hulu doesn't really exist here, but on Disney Plus here, we get this. I think you get The Simpsons, but we get the Family Guy. We get Family Guy, American Dads. I think a lot of the stuff you guys get on Hulu.
I don't know if they're on. I don't know if they're on Disney Plus here. They're definitely on Hulu. The American Dad and Family Guy. But that's interesting that they lumped it in with the UK version.
Yeah. So I think there's a company called like Star. All the Star shows we get on Disney Plus. So I think anything that you guys have on Hulu is just on our Disney Plus instead.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which is useful because it's all just one subscription. So
yeah, I know. I don't even know how many I have. Too many.
Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, do you have anything you want to say or you want to ask us? Kind of just in general.
Food.
Actually, yes.
Music.
For a long time, I've hassled Mark about HP sauce, which is a sauce.
Yes, House of Parliament sauce. House of Parliament sauce.
Is British food a common thing to see in your? I'm going to call it a supermarket. You guys call it something different.
I mean, people make fish and chips here.
Okay, so fish and chips is probably the biggest food that we relate to the UK. In normal grocery stores here, they have what they call the international section, which is basically Asian food, Indian food, and UK food. And they're like a section that big. I mean, it's really tiny. No, it really is nothing. Like I was surprised to see that they had HP sauce somewhere.
Executive producer wife Louisa, this just in, breaking news from her herself. There is a British store in Dallas, all things British.
Oh, that's true.
I did not know this.
she did mention that that we should go there. There was me and Seth, we we're friends outside of everything, so we talked, but we wanted to make each other a care package to send to each other. And it was just really funny because I was thinking of like, what do I put in to send to you from Texas, and like all I could think of was like, I got to go to Buc-ee's and I got to put in like a Whataburger spicy ketchup for you.
Which, do you know what peanut butter is?
Peanut butter?
Yeah.
Yes, we get peanut butter.
Do you make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
We do, but it's not like common.
Very interesting.
Yeah, apparently peanut butter and jelly sandwich is apparently to other countries a weird American
It is.
food.
What about
See-
popcorn?
Yeah, we have popcorn.
Okay.
It's not as like, we don't put butter on it. I've always personally, I felt that to be a bit odd.
Melted butter on popcorn, dude. Bruh. Get
Like,
fat
it's-
like Americans. Come
No,
on.
it's truffle parmesan is where you go.
That's like in the UK, it's like, do you want sugar or salt?
That's
Sugar.
fair.
Oh well, okay. I guess okay. I can kind of see
Executive
that.
producer wife Louisa would vote sugar.
She would absolutely put sugar.
sweet
Actually,
popcorn
she'd say, "Give me the sugar, hold the popcorn." But
Yeah.
If we make this care package, I'll put in the sweet popcorn for you. You can try it. It's nice.
okay,
Okay.
fair enough. And I'll send you butter popcorn and all.
He's like trash.
Yeah,
I was
I'll
telling
send you
Mark
the
this,
big bag. It's like 5 pounds for like $3, and it's stale as hell. And you'll be like, "This is disgusting."
Oh, here we go.
This is something that I noticed when I obviously I went to America for 3 years ago. I was in Florida.
Uh-huh.
Size.
Yeah, you don't do anything in like a single portion. It's like, oh, you can either have a million or none.
Did you
Nope.
see my coffee? It's as big as my head.
But what size is that in like America?
That's a medium.
That's a medium.
Yeah.
That's probably a large here. Like that's it's insane. I remember I was talking to Mark, and I found a shop near me that sells just some American bits and bobs, and I got a can of cream soda Dr. Pepper.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I looked at it, and it was 39 grams of sugar, which shocks me
yeah.
because a can of Dr. Pepper here is 14 grams of sugar.
That's healthy to us, okay?
Like,
That's a diet Dr. Pepper.
it's crazy.
Yeah, this is why they
Oh,
tell us not to drink soda here.
All right.
That's so
Well,
funny.
Seth, thank you so very much for joining us on this episode. It was a true pleasure to have you.
It's all right. Thanks for having me.
I would love to have you again on any other topic.
Yes.
Thank you, Adrienne, so much for getting up so early to do this podcast with us.
Of course.
Thank you to executive wife producer Louisa for setting up the Zoom. If you are just listening to the audio of this, hopefully we will actually put the video together and put it up on our YouTube channel.
Everyone asked, we listened.
That's what we're
Just
hoping
make
to do.
sure to search Hey Keep Up Podcast on YouTube and you'll find us.
YouTube search, yes. Of course, follow us on Instagram at Hey Keep Up Podcast, and on Twitter at Hey Keep Up Pod. Seth,
TikTok.
is there anything? TikTok, yes, the same thing.
Oh, TikTok.
Yeah, Facebook.
we
I'm getting
put
on
out
that train.
We put out a video of us making mashed potatoes out of potato chips.
Speaking of food.
I'll have to. I've seen a video about that, and it's just I just. No, I didn't like it.
And
I will
that's the
watch
correct
TikTok.
reaction.
That was our take on that.
I will watch the TikTok when we're done here.
Do you have anything to promote? Do you want to say anything before we head out?
Twitch.
I genuinely all social media stuff I don't tend to use that much. I'm a very sheltered boy at the moment, surprisingly, for being stuck inside for a year. No, I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for getting up so early and accommodating my time, which is very kind of you.
Our differences. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks with a regular episode of the Hey Keep Up Pod. Thank you so very much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.